Okay, I think I'll just start with an obvious question, which is the source of this film is not especially well-known Ernst Lubitsch film from 1932 called Broken Lullaby, which was in turn based on a play by Maurice Rostand. So can you talk about what was it that grabbed you? Was it the film? Was it the play? What was it about the original material?
It was first the play. Actually, I didn't know the film of Lubitsch. It's a friend of mine who told me about the play of Maurice Rostand, which was very popular at this time, just after the First World. He was the brother of Edmond Rostand, who wrote Cyrano de Bergerac. And Maurice Rostand now is totally forgotten. And he told me about this play, about secrets and lies. And I read it. I really loved the plot. And I began to work on the adaptation. But I realized another director made already an adaptation of the play, and it was Lubitsch. So I was devastated. I wanted to give up, because how to make a film after Lubitsch? And so I decided to find the film. It was quite difficult because it's the only drama of Lubitsch, and it was a film which was a big flop at this time. And when I saw the film, I enjoyed it, but I realized it was not the same story I wanted to tell. Enfin, it was the same story, but not from the same point of view. For me, it was important to tell the story from the point of view of the loser of the war, from the German point of view. And in the play of Rostand, in the film of Lubitsch, the story is really from the point of view of the French character, and you know from the first minute of the film what he has done. And for me, it was important.
The play is called like The Man I Killed.
The Man I've Killed,
so
yes.
I think it sort of gives it away.
So you know what he has done. And usually I don't give the French title because there is the secret and the twist of the film. And for me, it was important to create in the script this kind of suspense about his reasons to come in Germany to ask forgiveness, actually.
I mean, it's much more than an adaptation. I think besides, I think almost the entire second half of the film is your devising.
Yes.
And it was beyond. I mean, as you mentioned, the shift in perspective from the soldier is and the shift to French and to German. Can you talk about like feeling the need to actually expand on the story, because the story ends. The original play sort of ends halfway through,
it's
right?
Totally different. But actually, the play was written in the 20s, and Lubitsch made the film in the 30s. He didn't know that the Second World War will happen. So obviously, the point of view was different. And his film, if you see it today, it's quite ironic because there is an happy ending. And in the film of Lubitsch, Adrien takes the place of Frantz. And he becomes the new husband of Anna. And I realized it was impossible to make the same happy end today, knowing what happened after. And I wanted really to build the film in mirror, with France and Germany, and to have this long journey of Anna who traveled to France and to discover the reality of Adrien.
You talked a little bit about this in the introduction, about how, and even in this answer, about wanting to make a film about your feelings about Germany, your relationship to Germany. I wonder if you can expand on that and whether you see any sort of contemporary political resonance in this film, given what's happening in Europe today.
Yes, I didn't know the film will become political, but actually it became political because of the situation. When I made the film, I didn't know the Brexit will arrive. I didn't know Donald Trump will be elected, but...
we didn't either.
So it was a surprise. And when I spoke to the producer, they were quite nervous about the fact to make again a film about the First World War, because we have got many films in France about this period. But for me, it was interesting to tell the story from the point of view of the German, as a French director, and because of the rise of nationalism in Europe, here too, the fear of foreigners, the politics who ask for new borders. I had the feeling the film could resonate with today, but I didn't think it would be so much.
Was it a challenge for you working in German? For at least for part, a good
it
part
was
of the film?
easier than to work in English, actually. My German is better than my English, and German was my first language at school. So I'm not fluent, but I have a good ear for German, and actually I had very good German actors. They were very involved in the film, and I think for the rhythm, the melody of the language, it's easier for a French to direct German actors.
Can you talk about your lead actress, who is really Paula Beer, who is really quite I think, an astonishing discovery. She's very young.
It was a miracle to meet her,
Yeah.
because I knew I needed someone very strong, because she has all the film on her shoulders. And so I made a big casting in Germany because I didn't know the German actresses. And it's always a risk when you work with someone you don't know and someone so young, because she was just 20 years old during the shooting. But I took the risk, and I had the feeling she had the maturity to play the part. And I think the German actors were very happy to be in the film, because usually in the French movies they are always the bad guys. You know, they are always the Nazi, like in the American movies actually. And in this time they were the nice character of the story, so they were very, very pleased.
I'm sure there are a lot of questions, and there's so many people still here, which is quite amazing for a late screening. But let me just ask you one more before I open it up. Can you talk about the significance of the Manet painting for you? I've not seen the Lubitsch film, so I don't know if it was part of that or
No, there
something
is
you
no
introduced.
painting. Actually, the painting comes from the play. But in the play of Rostand, he speaks about a painting by Gustave Courbet with un jeune homme avec la tête en arrière.
A young man reclining with his head towards back.
So, but there is no title of the painting. So I look for the painting, and I think I find it. And the painting was very romantic. You had the feeling the young man was just sleeping, and I had in mind something more violent, something more stronger. And so I looked for another painting, and I discovered this painting of Manet, which is not well known. And I was really shocked and surprised, because it's very modern and very frontal, you know, this suicide. And I had the feeling it was perfect for the story, like a metaphor of all the despair of this young soldier from Germany and France who support the war.
All right, audience questions? Yes, right here.
What can I say? No, I know.
That wasn't a question, but François will respond if you want to.
I think it's interesting to look back to the past, sometimes to understand the present, what we are living, and that's true to understand what happened after the First War. It's interesting in comparison of today. And I don't think cinema can save the world, but sometimes it can help to understand what we are living and not to make the same mistakes, because we know very often history repeats, and human beings make the same mistakes.
Yes.
So I should have invited Donald Trump maybe tonight to see the film.
I'll just repeat in case people didn't hear. The question is about cinematography, the use of black and white, and the very occasional use of color. The
film was supposed to be shot in color, but 2 weeks before the shooting, I decided to put everything in black and white, because I had the feeling it will be more easier for the audience to be involved in the story, to believe in this story, to be more realistic, because all our memory of this time is in black and white, because there are a lot of archives, documents, films about the First War. So I had the feeling it will be stronger, and it was difficult for me to imagine after all this dead, all this mourning period, to have colors. But at the same time, I love color. My natural tastes go to Technicolor, so it was difficult to give up colors. So I had the idea to have sometimes some moments, some colors coming back, like life coming back in the life of his characters. but it's not very rational. It's more sensitive.
You shot with color stock.
I shot?
What was the film stock that you used? Was it color stock that you used?
Yes, because we don't have a black and white pellicule anymore. So you have to shoot in color, and after you put in black and white.
In the back, yep.
Good. No, but I think the response in Germany was stronger because, as I said, the Germans were very touched that a French director made a film about them. And there is still, in France it's quite different. French have still a kind of defiance. What? Defiance with the German because of the Second World War, so they are less interesting to the German as the Germans are interested to the French. But the film was successful in France too.
Yes.
That's the paradox. Life is a paradox, you know. Of course. No, I love the irony of the end, but for me it's a kind of happy ending. I think at this moment of her life, Anna has turned the page with this story, and she has a kind of distance with the painting, which is like the representation of all the story we have seen. The suicidé could be Adrien or it could be Frantz, but she has understood, she grew up, and I think she's able now to start a new life.
The first time she saw that picture, did you remember how wide her eyes got?
Yes, because she's when she comes in France, she's looking for Adrien, and suddenly when she discovers what is this painting about, she's afraid, because she's afraid that Adrien commit a suicide. She's afraid, she doesn't know, what has happened. So she's shocked when she discovers what is this painting first. But at the end, there is a kind of, a kind of distance and a maturity in front of that. Yes, it was.
Question is about the casting, specifically Pierre Niney, and whether you had that in mind.
It was quite obvious because he's one of the best young actors of his generation, and I wanted someone with fragile, who has sensibility, with was no problem with his feminine side, and Pierre was perfect for the part. He was very involved, and I needed someone able to speak in German, and actually no French actor can speak German, and he learned German for the film. He asked to Paula, the German actress, to record all his dialogues. So he had in his dans son casque, in his headset, the voice of Paula all the time, and it works because the German of the feeling is able to speak German, but actually he understands nothing. And he had to work on the violin too. So he has a theatrical background, and he belonged to the Comédie Française, which is a French theater company very important in France. So I knew he will work, for the part, and it was important because it's a very complex character.
Yep.
Yes, of course. I'm not innocent, No. I knew I will play on this fausse piste. I don't know, fake track. I know I wanted to create a suspense and not a game, but yes, I knew the audience who know my work will maybe think, oh, there was an affair between these two guys. And with the eyes of viewers of today, you imagine that, of course. But actually, it's not the reality. But when you see the end of the film, when Anna discovers Adrien's family, the fact he's going to be married with a girl he's not in love with, he's living with his mother, maybe there is a part of truth in his lies. And that was the complexity and what interests me, in the lies of Adrien.
Yeah. Okay, those 3 questions. We're gonna break it up. The question about pairing these 2 actors, one somewhat experienced in Pierre and less so in Paula.
Actually, Paula has experience to speak in German, so she was more experienced than Pierre, and Pierre spoke French, so they help each other a lot. You know, they work together, and there was a real chemistry between the two, and it was important for the film. And Paula had made some films before, actually, some German movies. So she was very serious, and I didn't have the feeling to work with a no professional actress. You know, she was very involved in the films and very good, actually.
Second question was about music. Yes. If you want to comment on.
What do you want to know about music?
Why you chose the tracks that you chose?
It was important, you know. The music is very important because it's the link between the French and the German. I had to find the right piece for the violin, so it's a piece of Chopin, and I asked to the composer Philippe Rombi to make a score in the spirit of the German composer of the last century, like Gustav Mahler, something romantic and quite morbid. So it's something very slow, and at the beginning something very simple, and step by step the melody, the romantic melody is developed, and it follows the feelings of the characters.
And your last question was about Vertigo?
I didn't have vertigo but I think like all the directors have vertigo in mind. I think, you know, it's part of our subconscious. But that's true. It's a film about a dead character. You know, Frantz is very important, and it was interesting to project many things on Frantz. You know, the idea of Frantz from Anna is totally different of the idea of Adrien, and the parents have another idea of him too. So it was interesting to build all these different point of view on France.
I noticed that you thanked a German filmmaker in the credits, Christian Petzold.
Christian Petzold, yes.
And I'm wondering if did he help you in some way? And actually,
yes.
His last film is quite. There's some similar themes in Christian's last film, Phoenix, a little
yes.
bit to France.
I really enjoy his work. It's one of my favorite actual German directors. So I met him actually in Berlin at the Berlin Film Festival when he presented a film called Barbara. I don't know if it was released here, yes. And I was in the jury of the Festival of Berlin. I gave him a prize, and I had many discussions with him. And when I decided to make the film in German, it was important for me to have the point of view of a German director, to know if the dialogues which were translated were good enough. So I gave him the script, and we had some discussions. He helped me to simplify some scenes, and to develop some others. And it was very helpful. It was important for me.
Yes. I'll just try to paraphrase. The question is about how different your films are from one another, and this viewer is asking what makes an Ozon film. And actually, it might be interesting if you talk about the next film, because I think you often seem to make one film in opposition to the last one.
I don't know what is the unity. You know, I don't ask me the kind of question. You know, I try just each time to experiment something new, to have the feeling not to repeat myself, to try to have the challenge to experiment something different. After, it's up to you to see the links between the films, you know. It's the job of the audience and the critics, not mine.
Tell us about the film that you were finishing.
I'm finishing a new film. I realize France is a very chaste movie, and I had a lack of sex, I think. So my next movie will be erotic thriller.
Is this your only film without a sex scene?
No, there is no sex scene.
But
there is a small kiss at the end, and so I needed to go back to my old obsessions.
Okay, good. We can't wait. Well, thank you all for coming, and François, thank you so much
Thank you.
again for being here.